Hey guys, Dan here again. Today I'm going to be telling you about the BBVA Compass Bowl between the Vanderbilt Commodores and the Houston Cougars. This is a game that features a very interesting matchup with two teams that kind of were underappreciated in their conference but are silently doing good and building. I think this ought to be a good one, so let's just get right into it and talk about it. I'm going to start by telling you guys about the Vanderbilt Commodores coming out of the SEC, the toughest conference in college football, so they say. Nobody really talked about these guys. For the third straight year, they've quietly snuck into a bowl game. They only played in 4 bowl games in the first 120 years of the program, but now they've made 3 straight. They're looking to win their second in a row for the first time in school history and playing here in Birmingham, Alabama at Legion Field. They're hoping to get it done against a tough Houston team. Unfortunately for them, they're going to be without their starting quarterback, Austin Carter-Samuels. He had a nagging injury with his ACL all year, and he's looking toward draft workouts after the season because he's done after this year. So they decided it was in his best interest to get surgery on it as opposed to playing in the bowl game, so that he can be healthy and ready to go and have a shot to get drafted this spring. Can't blame him for that. You gotta let the kid go for his dreams, but it's gonna hurt them a little bit. Coach James Franklin is instead going to have to start Patton Robinette, a guy who played in 2 games this year. To talk about them, they were in the later point in the season. They played Texas A&M, a 16th ranked team in the nation at the time, and he tried. He didn't do bad. He threw an interception and 2 picks, and they got beat 56-24. He just wasn't ready for it. I think given it was his first game, you got to give him a little leeway on that, but it shows there's definitely room for improvement. But the very next week, they went to Florida, who, while struggling this year, still had a pretty good defense, and Vanderbilt beat them 34-17, which I believe. No, that was the win that gave them 5 wins and put them right on the cusp of making the bowl season. Those are the 2 games he played in. Other than that, this team was really good on its own right, anyways. They went 8-4 this year, including a 4-4 record in that tough SEC. They lost the start of the year to Ole Miss, and they also had losses to 13th ranked South Carolina, Missouri, who, while unranked at the time, as anybody who's followed them now knows, was really freaking good. And to Johnny Football and Texas A&M, like I said, they play without their starting quarterback, and Johnny Football going up against a newbie, not really a fair fight. But they were able to win their other 8 games against Austin, PA, Massachusetts, UAB, Georgia, and kind of a surprise, 31-27, Florida, Kentucky, Tennessee, and Wake Forest. Now, I'll be the first to admit, they kind of had an easier SEC schedule than a lot of your SEC teams. It definitely helped them out, but they still played solid. James Franklin is one heck of a coach. The way he's turned this program around is amazing. 5 or 6 years ago, you would have been talking about them being a doormat for teams like Tennessee and Florida and Georgia. For them to come out here this year and beat these teams is really a statement to how far this team has come. You're going to be seeing a decent amount of passing, 233 yards a game, 64th in the nation. They're going to be a little conservative with Robinette, but when he does throw, look for him to throw to Jordan Matthews. This dude is a senior, the all-time leader in receptions and yards for SEC. He had 1,334 yards on 107 catches and 5 touchdowns this year, and he's looking to get a couple more touchdown catches before his career's done here in his last game. Houston's defense has been a little receptive to the pass, so you could see him really look for him. They've also got Krause, who has 703 yards catching on the year and 3 touchdowns. When it comes to running, they kind of mix it up. They use Seymour and Tate. Seymour had 627 yards and 13 touchdowns, while Tate had 353 and 4. Combined, they had a little over 1,000 yards, a little under 1,000 yards, but they're probably going to need to be emphasized a little bit in this game because with that new quarterback, Vanderbilt's really going to need the run to help establish his passing game. They only averaged 133 yards a game, 98th in the nation coming into this. That tough strength schedule certainly hurt that, but they're definitely going to have to up that a little bit if they're going to win this game. They scored 29.2 points per game, 67th in the nation, and gave up 24.7, which is 47th. There's definitely some room for improvement here. This is still a team that plays tough, and it's going to play this Houston team to the final buzzer, I feel like. Speaking of Houston, the Cougars had a great year this year in terms of improvement, playing actually in a better conference than last year. They moved up from the CUSA to the American this year, taking advantage of that opportunity. And with their freshman quarterback O'Corn, they played really good. They went 8-4 also, and 5-3 in conference play. They had a couple easy matches. They played Southern and Temple to start the year. Temple sucked this year, unfortunately. They beat them 22-13. And then in their final 10 games, they were able to go 6-4. They struggled a little bit in sometimes in conference play, but their games were always close. I think that's something to note because they play a tough schedule. They beat Rice 31-26, beat Texas Stephen Austin, beat Memphis, got beat by Purdue, but it was 47-46, a nail biter. To put up that many points on that Purdue BYU defense is impressive. They drilled Rutgers 49-14, beat South Florida 35-23. And in 3 straight weeks, they had 3 straight losses to 21st ranked Central Florida, 20th ranked Louisville, and Cincinnati, all 3 teams that made bowl games. But the losses combined were only by a total of 19 points. Less than 3 touchdowns in all 3 games combined. It was 19-14 against Central Florida, 2013 at Louisville. Both those games were away games, and then at home against Cincinnati, 24-17. So their offense was limited. O'Corn struggled a little bit in those big-time games, but their defense kept them in and kept them competitive. They finished off the year with a 34-0 win over SMU to boost their bowl eligibility up enough for this BBVA Compass Bowl. Like I said, they did it passing the ball, 284 yards a game, 23rd in the nation. They, much like Vanderbilt, struggle with the run, 138 yards a game, 93rd overall. They scored 33.9 points, 33rd in the nation, and only gave up 20.2 points, which is 15th. They're a tough defensive team. Outside of the BYU game, they never really gave up a whole lot of points. I mean, the next highest total they gave up was 28. So that's really impressive. And none of their big games defensively, bad games, were against their quality opponents. Later in the year, as they got more experience, they were able to buckle down and hold teams like Central Florida and Louisville to 19 and 20 points with amazing quarterbacks, including a future #1 draft pick from the sounds of it. So Houston's actually been very impressive this year. They're going to be running at times with Jackson and Farrow, 655 and 486 yards apiece, 6 and 5 touchdowns. O'Corn threw for 28-89 and 26 touchdowns. He's a monster. As a freshman, this kid's only going to get better, so keep an eye on him next year. Receiving, they have this sophomore who is really good named Greenberry. He had 1,106 yards on 76 receptions and 10 touchdowns, a great year. And they also have a dude named Spencer who had 764 yards and another 6 touchdown catches. 2 great receivers that are really going to elevate this program in the future. This is going to be an interesting matchup. You got a high-octane offense in Houston and a defense that's actually pretty stout. This game was projected to be close. Vanderbilt had a few little worse stats, but played harder strength of schedule. It's going to come down I would say it's going to come down to the wire. I think one of these teams is going to establish themselves and pull away. I just have this gut feeling. And Houston, I don't know. Vanderbilt playing without their starting quarterbacks, easy to pick against, especially with Houston's offense averaging 422.5 yards per game. But Vanderbilt's played SEC teams. They played better offenses. I think that defense is going to buckle down. And I think Vanderbilt's really going to stay in this game. And it's kind of hard to say this, even though they're 2.5-point favorites on the spread. But I'm actually going to pick Vanderbilt to win this game. Maybe I'm just biased by the SEC, but I really think they've got a good shot at it. And I think Vandy's going to take home their 2nd straight bowl win for the first time in their history by a score of, let's say, 25-17 Vanderbilt. Yes, that's right. I'm picking the Commodores. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Enjoy this game and get ready because we're getting to the end of bowl season and the title game's coming up. Later, guys.